Welcome to the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. Tonight, you will be joining Rotting Ricky and Asylum Amy as they play host to some of the true movers and shakers in the indie horror scene. So lock your doors, check under the bed, and get comfortable, because here we go.
And we're the Saska Sisters. And this is Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie!
Hey, do not adjust your sets. That is not Amy Rolfson there. I'm sure the facial hair probably gave it away, but this is our good friend here, and also our movie reviewer and fellow junkie, Lance OMG. Hello, Lance.
What's happening, Rick? Glad to
Rick?
be here. Appreciate you letting me come on and fill in for Amy.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here. All right, so let's do some quick housekeeping, and then we're going to get right to our guests. So let's go ahead and run through this stuff fairly quickly. All right, first off, we do want to mention, as we do every week, The Clock. Okay, it's available on streaming services all over the place, Tubi, Amazon, Vudu. It's also available on Blu-ray, which I highly recommend, not just because it looks gorgeous. I'm a big physical media guy. Plus, also the Blu-ray comes with some special features, including glorious audio commentary from writer-director Rick Danford and cinematographer extraordinaire Salo Zayas, as well as a really cool 45-minute documentary that I put together on a radio show called Hickory Dickory Doom, which is what I heard when I was 13 years old and based this movie on. So that way you can go back and find out where the origins of this story came from and hear the original story, which was far better than what I was able to bring to life.
Yeah, the extras alone are worth the purchase of the Blu-ray.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, and also I'm a physical media guy. So, all right, next up, let's go ahead and promote the two film festivals that we are currently a part of. First one, of course, is Scaricon. That is happening this September 5th through 7th in Syracuse, New York. Submissions are currently open. If you've got a short or a feature film that you would like to see screened, please get it to us. We want to take a look at it. Lance is one of our reviewers as well, so we can go ahead and pick and choose what we can show over there. And they're going to have a slew of celebrity guests. We have the list right here, right now. We'll go through them fairly quickly. Of course, Felicia Rose.
Love Felicia Rose.
Absolutely. Dave Sheridan. We've also got special effects, Daniel Roebuck, who is in so many, with the Munster Stream, Terrifier 3. We've also got the incomparable Kane Hodder. Everybody seems to love this guy. Of course, how can you not? Friday the 13th. Then we've got effects extraordinaire master Phil Falcone. We have Jesse Posey, that was recently announced. We have Tyler Posey, who was also recently announced, and the latest and greatest, Eugene Clark, actor from Land of the Dead, Trailer Park Boys as well, and the guy Jonathan Stark, I can't wait to meet, because Fright Night is one of my all-time favorite movies. So we have him as well, and we have a twofer with Fright Night. Stephen Jeffries, and we never know, we may even add some more, but these are the two we've got so far, so I definitely have to bring my box covers for autographs and all that good stuff. So very excited to have them on board. And let's see, what else we got? Oh, Tarot Cards. We've been promoting this almost every week. Tarot Cards is an online game. You can it's a free game. You can download the app. You can trade. They have all kinds of movies from Bayview Entertainment and Vipco, including The Clock. You can get cards. You can trade them with your friends. And you collect points and all kinds of stuff. And if you collect all the cards from one particular movie, they have bonus cards that are released. So it's a really cool game. And did I mention that it's free? So definitely check it out. Another film festival that we have going on is our very own Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest. Submissions are now open. This festival is going to be held in March of 2026. So you got the early bird pricing going on right now. We had such a blast last time. The guys who are here today can attest to that as well. It was such a good time. We intend to really double down next year. So definitely, if you've got a short or a feature you want to get in there, drop it in there. Then, last but not least, is the magazine. The current issue right now is right here. This is the cover, which is the 259 film, which is Cody Newton's. As a matter of fact, I believe that's Cody Newton's son, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on the cover. So we've got a lot of great articles in there. You see on the right some of the different articles that we have in there. This is issue number 16. It's currently available to purchase for a digital download, or you can purchase the actual physical copy, 40 glorious pages. And then we have the new, because what we do here at Indie Horror Junkie is that we produce a magazine every other month. If there's a month in between that has a Friday the 13th, we have to celebrate that glorious day. So what we do is we put out a special Friday the 13th edition, which June is the month in between, and it has Friday the 13th. So on the 1st, which is just a couple days from now, we will be releasing the cover, opening it up for pre-sales, and the Friday the 13th issue will start shipping on Friday, June 13th.
And guys, get your pre-sales in, because the first run of 259 issue sold out really quick. So they had to make a second run. Get your pre-sale orders in early in June.
Absolutely. And another thing you may not be aware of that we try to promote when we put it out there, anybody who takes advantage of purchasing a printed copy during that pre-sale period will also get a free digital download as well attached to that. Once the pre-sale period is over, then you have to purchase your digital copies. All right. So we have some good friends of ours. They were on, it seems like 8 years ago, back when they were promoting their previous film, but now they've got a brand new film out called The Last Cabin. We had it playing over at the film festival. Our buddy here, Lance, was one of our reviewers, got to review the film as well. Really excited to bring them to you so we can chat all about it. But before we do that, as we do here, we're going to go ahead and show you the trailer. So here is the trailer for their new film, The Last Cabin.
We work our ass off. Does anyone notice? No. If we can secure a cabin like this last minute, dude, imagine. I hear a promotion. So we are a production company, and we're just looking for a cabin like this to film just a few scenes very quick.
Just be careful about going too far back into the woods or messing with any of the locals. Some of them are backward folk, had a whole camp set up. Well, the developer came in with the police, rounded them all up, and then kicked them out. Ooh, they were pissed about that.
But then what happened to them?
I think you guys did it. I think you guys found a perfect location for that. I am proud.
All right. How about that, huh? Get your juices flowing.
Very cool looking.
How's it going, Ben?
Hey, Rick, thank you for having us again. It's incredible how after our paths keep crossing. First off, thank you for MegaCon and premiering this film. That was such a great launching point. It was such an excellent experience. I still couldn't believe we had a film playing at MegaCon. And not only playing at MegaCon as part of the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival, but a day after Screamboat premiered, and immediately after Party of Darkness, which is a film we've become mildly obsessed with since seeing. So thank you for everything. That was so much fun. It was such an honor to be a part of it, and it was such a launching point to help us get to the point we're at now with the film. So thank you so much, and thank you for having us on the show again.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is all ours. We had a great time with you guys there. Your film is outstanding. We had a great time with you on the podcast 12 years ago, whatever that was we had on. So we're ready to run it all back now. Well, this is my friend Lance. Lance is our movie reviewer. Lance, you just recently reviewed the movie, or did you see it over at the Film Fest as well?
I only got to see bits and pieces at the film festival because, Rick, it's very busy. I did watch it. I have my notes and my video review done. I just haven't posted it yet. I wanted to wait until after this, try and get everybody to talk about it a little bit. So I will have a review up for you guys in the coming days of the last cabin.
Outstanding. So let us know, what's it been like since the film fest? What's been happening? What's the latest? What's going on? Where can we see it? Where can other people who didn't make it to the film festival check it out?
Well, of course. And, to highlight what Ben said, we do appreciate the film festival is fantastic. To get everyone together, we had most of the cast and crew, I believe, there. And it's always nice to show it on the big screen. And then MegaCon obviously was a plus because we got to go hang out with all the other actors and, the big names out there. So I believe when it premiered there, 1 month later, we launched it. There's our photo.
With Scully.
And basically, it's on every single streaming platform outside of like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, the big ones. I think it's on 32 platforms right now. We would recommend you go on Amazon to download it, just because that helps us the most. Amazon has the most powerful algorithm, but it has been it's by far our best movie we've ever done. And I thought we were at the top of where we can reach as far as like indies can go, and this movie in 1 month has outgrossed all our other movies in their entirety on Amazon. So it's just absolutely phenomenal, the reception of this one, and just how it kind of blew up on social media, on TikTok, and all these reviews have been coming in, pouring in. And it's really, really cool just to be able to do this, because our movies are very low budget. To see us, compete up there against, basically the top of the top right now. The movie peaked at 22 on Amazon Horror. So there is not much, the movies ahead of us have a larger catering budget than what we did with this actual movie. Basically, to compete with them and to compete with movies like Clown and Cornfield on Amazon is really, really cool. And it's really exciting. I think it's good for just the indie market in general.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. You said obviously it's out there on, you said like 32 streaming services. That's amazing. What did you do as far as distribution? Did you go with the distribution company? Did you self-distribute? What did you do?
No, so we went with the Horror Collective on this one, and I think they definitely had a part in working this. Shirley at Studio Dome, who basically runs the distribution arm of the Horror Collective, has done an amazing job. That company, I could not recommend them more highly. They have been the best that we've worked with, and I've worked with maybe 6 or 7 companies by now. The difference with them is they are horror focused, so they know horror very well. They have, like, our press tour is absolutely fantastic with this one, and I think it definitely shows basically in how we were able to promote this movie before it launched, and then when it launched, and then everything afterwards. They've really helped us out. And we went with them because they specialize in found footage, and they specialize in getting the downstream platforms, specifically Shudder. They've done Chad Does the Axe, Mean Spirited. They've done a whole bunch of these films, and they've done a really good job. And so when we were able to basically reach out to them, and I do my due diligence when I talk to all these distribution companies, I've talked to them before, but our stuff just wasn't at that level. And then they were like, this is the one, we really like this movie, which was like, when I send out all these emails and all the feedback to distribution companies on like gathering the offers and trying to see what we can get, most of them are like, all right, let's talk through it, and we'll go on phone calls. With this one, I sent it all out, and the next morning I had like 10 offers in my inbox. And that just shows you like the difference in quality of this movie, and the fact that it's so fast paced. And it gets the viewer in there, and they stay on there, and distribution understands that, especially with AVOD and Tubi. They want a movie that once you're in the action, you watch it all the way through, and there's no slowdowns. And I think that's like what attracted them with this one. But it's just been execution, number one, from the cast and crew to distribution, all the way through. I think everything just kind of finally aligned for us. And it's just really, really cool to just see us kind of, I consider this probably our next step in the filmmaking journey.
Awesome. We got a question here for you from one of our viewers. Dave saying, will it have a physical release? And also, if it is that something that's going to be handled through the collective, or is that something they've pretty much, because I've heard a lot of distributors nowadays, they're letting you handle the physical release and they just handle streaming.
Yeah, it's going to be handled through them. I don't know exactly when that street date's going to be. We do sell a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays, and we've done that through a bunch of companies before. The company that we did use, I think, got out of the game. So I think that might be causing a lot of with the DVD and Blu-ray business is the Allied Vaughn, and they are not taking on new people. We had an account with them. I'm not really sure the standing of it, but usually for this, they're handling the physical release, but it will be down the road. We do push a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays, and we always, if you ever see us at a festival, we hand them out like candy because they're like $1 to make. So it's like, here, So if you see us, we'll autograph one and give it to you.
I find it ironic that it's a found footage movie that, in the movie sense, it relies on physical footage being found, but it's so hard to find physical media to be released these days. There's an irony in that. But I mean, realistically, why found footage? You guys have really seemed to like hone in on the found footage genre of horror. Why is that?
I really like the found footage fans. They're extremely passionate. You can kind of, they don't mind necessarily, like they don't need high budget stuff to enjoy it. So we're looking for the passionate fans. They're very loyal horror fans. And I like the found footage stuff because I've always liked it. I've enjoyed making these movies. I thought that it would help us in our career, as filmmakers. I've gotten to the point now where it's like a little limiting with what you can do, in that it's just, we're going back to cinematic for a little bit, but I do enjoy it. I think it's really cool to tell a story and incorporate found footage, and I think this is our 4th one in a row. We have one more coming out in July or August this year, but it's taught me a lot about just filmmaking and style. Even if you watch something like James Wan stuff, it is cinematic, but he incorporates the over-the-shoulder camera, and there is no tripod or anything like that. So you're incorporating a lot of things that work from the found footage element that kind of just makes you immersed in the movie. And I think learning immersion and how to get the audience member to feel like they're actually in that movie, especially for horror, really like elevates that fear level. And I think out of everything that we've taken away from the found footage thing, it's like, how do you make this as realistic and gritty? You want your audience member to feel like they're in that film. So even when we go back to cinematic for a little bit, I'm still taking those core elements of, point of view stuff, searching the room, scanning the room, incorporating a lot of that stuff because, if you can, especially for pop scares, if you can put the viewer in the shoes of that, character, it makes it just that much more creepy.
Yeah. You got one here from the horror scene. We've been pumping the hells out of The Last Cabin at the scene.
I love these guys are fantastic.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. They get the word out there. Let me ask you this. As an actor, Ben, what do you find more difficult, to do the found footage type films or to do just the regular cinematic films? What's more difficult for you and why?
Honestly, they're both kind of the same for me, especially working with Brendan, because we have such a rapport at this point for how we communicate and how we work that honestly, at this point, if we're going to do a cinematic film, just out of instinct, he would probably make me do one long 8-minute take anyway. So it almost doesn't make much of a difference to me. I like that when we work together, we have this ability to create a character, get a look, get a tone, get a motivation, really create a 3-dimensional person. Because when I show up on set, it's all improvised the moment I get there. He writes really good scripts, and a lot of the actors really learn their dialogue and their motivation. They take the room to improvise. He sends me a script. I read it the first time. We talk about the character and what he wants out of it, and then I don't read it again until maybe 5 minutes before, and I just push it away. And when we did Forest of Death, that was cinematic, but all the dialogue I had in there after maybe the first opening scene was off the cuff. When we did A Cold Grave, which was the last time we were on here, was for A Cold Grave, which had a tremendous launch and is one of the most pirated films in Russia. Like 3.5 million Russians have illegally streamed that film, which is insane because it did just launch on Found, which is a found footage streaming service. They could just go watch it for free or like $5 a month without ads. So Russians, you don't have to steal it. Go on Found and watch the movie, please. And that one was entirely improvised. We had a fish scale of what we wanted to do, and it was improvised. And then for The Last Cabin, we really wanted to have our Ari Gold from Entourage.
Yes.
And that's the building we took from it. And, we morphed it and changed it. And I took a lot of wrestling influence from Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, hence the blonde bob and the white shirt to help pop that blood. And it ended up being exactly what we wanted to be. We knew a character, we knew we wanted to go. And we just rolled with it. And everything that you see there was an original take because no two takes were the same for anything I did. And we were able to work that way of I do a take, he edits it on the spot because he is still at his core a writer, and I am at my core a sock puppet. So it works really well when he says, do this, and then I do it, and then he, tells me what else to do. And then I do it, and then 3-4 takes in, we have something that's really working. And not only that, but we have this crew and this cast that we have such a rapport together because we've worked together a lot that anyone can throw in anything at any time, and it's a good idea, and I'll try it. And if it doesn't work, I won't do it again. But the first opening scene with Kevin going to the fridge and taking out a drink, that was from Dylan, just throwing that out idea. And it worked so well. I did every take, and then from there, I riff into something else. So between found footage and cinematic, my approach and my development's the same. I do like cinematic because when you do cinematic, if you flub a line on a 3-minute take, you don't have to go back and do the whole 3-minute take again. He can just get a close-up. So I do like that you can move a little differently. I also like that you can have more of the artistic touches of a different angle, different lighting, where found footage, everything has to be set up and move fluidly. So if there's one little thing that's off, it's just going to be off.
Right.
But that also does help add to the realism. So pros and cons to both.
Yep.
It's all the same to me, to be honest.
Absolutely. All right, we have another one here from Dave. Was it hard finding a cabin that fit?
Well, we're indie filmmakers. We don't get to pick things. We basically
Yeah, I hear that.
This is the minute we start making a movie, it's compromise. But Dylan, who has stepped up, he is my AD. He's really, really talented and does a lot of work. He is really good at location scouting, and this, out of all of our locations that we do, this was one of my favorite ones, just because the cabin had these beautiful vaulted ceilings. It looked really cool. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and I think it was just north of Gainesville, so it wasn't too much of a trek for us to get there. But I think it just having like those low lights of the cabin in the isolated forest, and it really was isolated. I think there was like one neighbor in the back, and then our other neighbor was actually a bear that was wandering around in the back of the woods.
Nice.
So that's always interesting. But I do think that with indie budgets and keeping everything low, my job as a director is to try and take our budget and cheat it and make it look like it's hundreds of $1,000s or $1 million. That is like my job. And one way we can do that is finding a really nice location. And I think that this one really kind of sold it. It is the last cabin. It means you have to have a good cabin. It's the last cabin. And I think Dylan did a fantastic job on that. And I think it did sell the movie. It's in the trailer. Immediately you see this cool remote cabin. And honestly, like if I did have a huge budget, it'd be a place that I'd look at.
Well, let me ask you this, Brendan. I mean, since you've done like 4 or 5 of these found footage ones now, is it hard to write like a found footage that kind of separates itself from like not only the others that you've done, but like others in the genre?
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And I really thought that, I like the filmmaker angle in this one because it's relevant to us. Like we're talking about stuff, scouting locations in the middle of nowhere, knocking on doors, like doing these things that we do as a film company. And it's just like the first thing has to be, it's like, all right, like how do we basically explain why they're filming the movie? And that's with all of them, and it goes from like this one, I thought we did a really good job because basically Ben's character said, keep filming at all times, and they're a film crew. But for the other ones, it's like you basically have documentary crews. Like that's pretty much it. They're going out to solve the mystery in the documentary. Because I don't like the fact when it's just like people are like, oh, stuff's happening, we're going to be on our cell phones the entire time. And that's those
or
are 2
60
options.
minutes just talking to yourself.
Yeah. So
that's the other one.
When I say like I love the found footage thing, but it is limiting, that is pretty much it. There's only so many things you can do. There's only so much stuff you can do. But I do think that for especially indie filmmakers, because the fans are so passionate and they're willing to give everything a shot, it's easier to kind of get your stuff seen and get feedback on it, which is to me the most important thing. Is, I have 2 goals when we make a movie. Number 1 is make the movie and upload it, and then number 2 is get as many people to view it, watch it as possible, so that basically I can figure out what we did right and what we did wrong, and basically on the next movie get better. So our philosophy differs from a lot of other filmmakers who make one film every 3 years, where we make 3 or 4 movies a year, and we kind of just trying to get a little bit better with each one, solve these issues. If you see our last one, which is Shadows of Bigfoot, the movie did really, really well, but the feedback was the pacing was slow. We did a really good job of special effects on the end, but getting to that end scene the feedback was it's hard to get through. There's a lot of slow down scenes. There's a lot of stuff that, the pacing was just slow. So what do? We took this one, and this one, the minute they start chainsawing people, this movie goes. Every single DBS movie you're going to see from this point forward has this kind of pacing. And the feedback we get now basically is, hey, slow down a little bit. Your pacing's too fast. We want more character development, which is music to my ears, because I can now learn from the next one and add in character development or just slow the movie down. It's much easier to slow a movie down than speed it up. You can never speed a movie up because you're just not going to hit that runtime.
Well, as a reviewer, I'm happy to hear that you're receptive of, some criticism. I remember when I was doing some research for this, I actually found a Reddit thread for DBS Films about this particular film. And there were some people that had some gripes, and DBS would always respond with, okay, well, what didn't you like? So you're looking for what you can improve upon. So many people are like, I didn't like this. And it's like, okay, but tell me why, so I can work on that in the next film. But a lot of people just kind of don't even want to give you a real good answer towards why I didn't like it. I just didn't like it.
I gotta tell you what he does, because he's a crazy person. Like, so every comment, every critic, every single review that comes in, good, bad, whatever, he responds to. And the worse people are, not to encourage people to write terrible things, the more interested he is. Like, someone says you suck donkey balls, he's all over that. Like, what about our film sucks donkey balls? Can you elaborate on why we suck donkey balls? Real thing. Every single one, he's hunting them down to find out, to get better, to improve, to figure out, why don't you like this? Yeah. And there's a couple people you'll find that they destroy this film. And then he talks to him, and over a thread, you're watching going like, oh, I missed that. I'm going to watch it again. Oh, it's not that bad. I changed my half a star to 2 stars. But it's an absolutely commitment and dedication to perfecting your craft and improving, that someone just goes and seeks out the absolute worst things people have to say to them. Most people run and hide from that. But the DBS culture is like, no, let's find the really bad ones and let's go make a friend.
I like that a lot. I mean, I really do, because Facebook has become that voyeuristic thing where people can just go in there and blast whoever they want to and not have to worry about any ramifications. And a lot of times people will do it just because they want the clicks or just because they want the attention. By you going back there and asking them, okay, I understand you didn't like the film, but what is it you didn't like? Not only does that get them to kind of basically tell you if it's true or not, and if so, what it is, but it helps you grow, like you said, as a filmmaker. Okay, for this, maybe this didn't work here. If I heard this a second time or a third time, that, okay, I'll use that in the future or whatever. So I think that's great all the way around. Good job for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's like my whole philosophy, is get better with each thing. And like, you can't get better. If I stick my head in the sand, it doesn't help anybody. It's like, and a lot of filmmakers honestly will be just like, will not interact with anyone. And I am trying to figure out like exactly what's going on. A couple of things with this one though, it is our highest rated movie by far. Like, by far, we are basically 2 points up on IMDb. The letterbox is holding strong. And a lot of our stuff, basically, because of how we market things with Facebook ads and everything, I'm asking people who are used to watching millions of dollar movies, like high budget movies, who've never seen anything $1 million, pay $4.99 on Amazon for this movie. And they click it and they are not happy, and they will let me know. That being said, with this movie, it's the weirdest thing ever, because all these people will leave these reviews, or I'll go back and I'll do it. And the Reddit thread was a great one, just because like you're going through there and they're like, I didn't like it. Well, what did you like? They don't respond back. I'm having
exactly. I saw a lot of that.
Man, I am having the hardest time. And it's not just on Reddit. You should have the better one, but on Letterboxd and on Facebook ads. And with all our other movies, they say, oh, this is what we didn't like. Like with the Bigfoot, the pacing was slow, or like, the acting wasn't good here, or you need better special effects. I can't get answers from anybody on this one, and it is wild. So I think we've kind of hit the point where, it's an okay movie, which is like our first goal. But it is definitely interesting. It's frustrating a little bit on my end, just because a lot of the stuff are complaints that you just can't fix with indie budgets. Like there's just smaller stuff that you can't do. A lot of the stuff is like, we want the killer's backstory and motivation. It's a found footage movie from the main character's perspective. I can't show the villains because they don't have the camera, but you kind of like look at these things. I'm like, all right, well, maybe if I had like an intro scene or something that kind of developed the character's backstory to the cold open, that would have worked. And so they're not wrong, but like it's something that if I had a bigger budget, I would have done. Having like a giant scene where cops come in and bulldoze their land or kick these people off their land would have cost me a lot of money. It's this one's got less things to fix, and I think that's an improvement. But there obviously is stuff in there. Usually, the stuff we're getting now is like they wanted more character development, which is really good. They wanted just a little bit more on the killer's backstory, and they wanted kills that happened on camera. But again, found footage. If you're the camera guy and you're getting chainsawed, I can't show it because you're holding the camera. So it's like I can't really do much. And then obviously, like, people don't realize how difficult it is to act in found footage movies. So we always get like dinged on acting. And I think everyone on this set did an amazing job acting. I think the acting is phenomenal. It's on me to just get better performances and to put our actors in a place to succeed. You just don't understand with found footage. On one take, you have to keep the camera rolling. I cannot edit it, and like you don't realize when cinematic, I can edit people out. I can remove ums and ims, and if you have a weird facial reaction, if you deliver a line, I have 8 other takes to kind of slide in another line. I can literally edit people to a really, really good performance, or I could save your performance, or I could help you and improve your performance. With found footage, I have to get the camera and the blocking correct on that one take. This actor has to work with another actor. Both of their takes have to be perfect. If one of them isn't perfect, then there's sometimes where I'm like, I have to use this take. I have to, 2 out of 3 things are there. I have to use it. So it's basically, you don't realize how difficult found footage is. And I don't think it's just, if people understood that, I think they'd be a little bit more lenient on the acting. And a lot of these actors are coming. This is their first feature film. And a feature is a huge difference from a short. You have to be up for basically 12 hours every single day. You're giving this movie is just nonstop emotional action, reacting to all this kind of crazy stuff. To do that for 8 days in a row is crazy. Like that is just insane. So I mean,
it's so much fun.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so much fun
to get better, especially with the acting stuff. And I think there's a huge step up if you watch all our stuff before. But I mean, a lot of this stuff. We're reaching a point now where we're hitting, like when I see lower reviews come on Letterboxd and on Facebook, I text Ben, I say, yes, this is great because it means we're going to be, you're going up in the rankings because we're hitting the mainstream, and the mainstream is used to they watch When Evil Lurks and they 1-star that. I can't compete with When Evil Lurks. That was one of the better movies I've seen last year. If that's getting 1-star, or Ugly Stepsister was another one that I watched. That was a really crazy movie. And they're giving that 1 stars. I'm like, come on. It's just,
we were trending behind Sinners for a little while.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then The Last Cabin, which means people are watching Sinners, and then they're like, wow, I'm on this horror movie kick. Let me rent the next one, Last Cabin. What is this?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. We're next to Hard Eyes, Ugly Stepsister, Bloat, and Until Dawn, and The Monkey. like the catering budgets on those is what we paid. So it's like, how do you compete? And the problem is how Amazon works is when someone buys one of those movies, our movie gets recommended. So they're like, oh, Hard Eyes, it's a slasher. It's a similar thing. It's just 1/100th of the budget of, this. And they're, that is where we're working, which is really cool because I love all those movies. It's fantastic. But at the same time, it's like, there is no expectations for, indie film. These people aren't exposed to this, which hopefully is changing.
Well, we have Howard here that says, as someone that has acted for DBS films and still works with them, I pick Brendan apart all the time.
He does. Howard does. Howard's got really good feedback.
Oh, yeah. Howard even asked, he said, have you seen any bad reviews for props yet? Because he's been looking.
No, I'll send them your way, Howard. After all the shit you give me, I'm sending you any negative reviews.
Everything I've seen as far as props go, everybody seems to really like the masks from the villains.
The things that are skating under the radar of this movie are me and the props. No one seems to hate us.
Well, I hated your character, which was probably the point.
Hey, that's great. Every time someone hates him, it's like, I did a good job.
Yeah, your character sucks, but your acting was good, so that's a plus. But yeah, I mean, everybody I've seen is really like the masks. And then as far as special effects go, I mean, you kind of touched on it. You can't do a lot with the special effects because it is a found footage. Yep. And yeah, a lot of the kills are essentially off screen, but they almost have to be. Like you can't, like you said, you can't be holding the camera and being killed at the same time. It creates a weird paradox.
It does.
Yeah. And that was one of the cool.
Go ahead, Ben.
That was one of the coolest things about watching this at MegaCon was seeing with an audience. Because you see the screener and I'm watching on my phone. It's like, all right, that's okay. And then you see it on the screen, and so many of the effects are like, oh shit, you pulled that off. No, it's awesome. And then you look around the room and you see people reacting to it. Like, oh, dude, you nailed it. Like, good for you.
That is the best compliment when you hear people reacting to your filming. To me, that's what it's all about. So, congrats, definitely.
Well, let me ask you this, Ben, because I know Brendan did a lot of long one-shot takes, which was really impressive, but like your character obviously meets his demise, the shot's still kind of going on.
Spoiler alert.
Like, what are you doing? Like when he's like, are you just laying there waiting for him to call cut, or do you like need to like silently like roll away to like be out of the scene at that point?
No, that was a stunt double. I don't take my own falls. Come on, we got a budget for a stunt double. Actually, I think that was one of the more clever cuts that happens in there because we got me hit, looking at the camera, and out of there pretty quickly. So I think there was me on the ground for a second, and then when you look back, that's not me.
Okay.
Interesting. I was going to say be careful with the spoiler alerts, but not necessarily for in Russia. You got
Well,
3.5 million Russians have already seen what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Russia loves Roger. He's like it's Putin and then Roger for some reason, the two most popular over there. Until you read the reviews and you realize Roger's as popular as Putin.
No, and I don't want to give too much away. I do want people to go see this. It is an entertaining found footage film for sure. But when you're doing a one take shot like that, with other actors on screen, I mean, do you have to like work around them, or do they work around you in that aspect?
Well,
is it more like a dancing partner type thing?
It's very similar to that, and Brendan does a really good job. And this is something I've become very particular with who I work with and the projects I pick now. I've almost become a hermit or a recluse because I've zoned in to doing things I really enjoy doing, because so much of my career has gone to the indie void, and I want to set myself up for success. And working with Brendan has really showed me what works well for me, which is someone who understands my style. I trained improv. That was my bread and butter for the longest time. And I never really did it until working with Brendan. He gave me a little shot a couple films ago to see what I could do. And I guess that's where you say you found your voice. Because since then, almost everything I've done has been good, has been that same method of I'm going to build this character, I'm going to find their voice, their walk, their look, their backstory. I'm going to create this entire person, and then that person's going to become me. And whatever happens in this scene happens. But the director and the writers have to be people that are willing to say, hey, if this is your character, this is who you are, then go with it, run with it, make it real. Along with it, you also have to have actors that understand how to work with that. And most actors do not enjoy doing that, especially the ones that are inexperienced, because they're still in that phase of memorize your script, look at your notes, which is a very good technique. I've worked with a lot of actors that they know my line, their line, the scene direction, they know everything. I don't feel comfortable doing that once I've kind of developed my craft to this point. But with Brendan, he goes, hey, he's going to show me he's a wild card. So here's what's going to happen. You know what you're doing, right? All right. Somehow he's going to get you there. So if you listen and react at the moment you're supposed to react, this is going to go great. Again, no idea what he's doing. Absolutely no clue what he's doing, but he'll feed you, and we're going to go with it. I said that first take is always really awkward, uncomfortable, because people just stare at me, forgetting that I'm talking to them, or there's a blank, or there's something. But really, the first take doesn't matter, because Brendan's still screwing up the shot anyway, so throw it out. The second take, we're kind of getting a groove. They're starting to understand. But again, like, the blocking has to be there, because even I don't fully know where I'm moving and my timing. So the second take, just take and throw it out. The third take is really the first one, because there we have the timing, we know the movement, they have an understanding of where we're coming from. And the third take is really where we start to find something. And even when you're doing a scene with people who aren't speaking, that scene where you're leaving the house and walking out there, from the moment I'm talking in the hallway out is one shot, and you don't exactly know when your phone's going to ring,
right?
Or what's really about to happen. And the best part of that is I black out a little bit, and you're in that moment, and it becomes real. And there's a part of you that's going, you have to get here and go there. There's Brendan who's making sure that, like, the movement has to go here. So once you get through the movement, again, the first take is going to screw it up. So whatever. Second take is pacing. But that third, fourth take, you're out of it. You're in character. You're in the mode. Whatever happens, happens. And by that take, if everyone is in the same group and we're all dancing together, we're all moving together, that's art. That's poetry. That's where it becomes real. Especially when someone's about to violently murder you. That timing has to be perfect, or you may or may not take a hammer to the face.
Gotcha. So, have you already lined up what's coming up next?
He has like the next 10 movies lined up.
Yeah, we have. We're pretty stacked. The goal this year is to release 4 movies in 1 year. Whether or not we'll get there, we'll see. But we have The Haunting of the Lockwood House, which is we're about to start testing the titles and getting the cover art and everything. That one's going to be launched probably in July or August. Then we have 2 cinematic movies that are in pretty good shape that just need to get audio mixed, and I got to clean them up just a little bit. We have Echoes of Evil, which Ben is in. It's a possession movie. That one will probably, I'm hoping for around October release for that one. And then if we can get the last one, which is Forest of Stolen Faces, is a shapeshifter movie. We're going to try and get that one out in December. Once again, though, it always depends on distribution and lining up with the platforms. But those are the ones that if we can get all those done, that's my post-production pipeline right now. So that'll be completely done. And we're shooting another one in 2 weeks, pretty much.
Wow. What do you do as far as, because I mean, four movies a year, that's pretty ambitious, and hats off to you for doing what you're doing. How do you work out with the funding? Because like I've told you guys before and everybody else, we have a lot of filmmakers and stuff that watch this program, so we always try to go into the nuts and bolts of everything. So how do some people go out and do the whole crowdfunding thing and they live or die by Indiegogo and Kickstarter? Other people just do private investors, some invest themselves or whatever. What do you guys, what's your formula for getting funding for your movies?
I mean, we're very fortunate that we have a very passionate and loyal following on both TikTok, Instagram, and just in general. So all our movies pretty much make their money back very quickly. and that all the funds and anything that we make, we just put into the next one. So you do have the delays just because you have to get the platforms and everything. It takes a little to get it all done. But where now we have, I think this was movie number 14 or 15. I can't remember.
Wow.
What it is. But we get those checks every single month, and they do add up. And we had a couple, I saw the horror scene in here. They had posted blurb about or post about our Haunting of the Suicide House, which is an old movie that we did in like 2019, 2020 that Found TV, the streaming service, had picked up. And I think that one had like 2 million views just on that post. It just kind of blew up. And we got a nice check.
Again, with Found TV, it's a streaming service, Russia. A Cold Grave is on Found right now. You don't have to pirate it. You can just go to Found, type in A Cold Grave, and watch it without pirating it. Again, 3.5 million Russians chose to steal the movie. Could have gone to Found, watched it for free, or like $5 a month without ads. So I'm just going to keep bringing it up.
For any of our Russian viewers, Found, that's where you can find it. So.
Sergey, make sure you go to Found. Don't pirate it. Vladimir, there's a service you can watch it on.
Yep. There you go. So you said you're going to be filming this next one in 2 weeks?
Yes. So we're going to be moving up to Atlanta. We're going to be filming this one. And this is going to be, it's a small project as in it is one location and 3 actors, which all our movies are, like one location and a couple actors. It's just how it's going to be shot, and basically the style and the technicality of this movie is going to be very difficult. So it is like with each one, we try and push ourselves. Once again, I'm trying to take our very, very, very small budget and, make it look 6 figures, make it look 7 figures. And that's what we're going to try and do with this one. There's a lot of technical shots and there's a lot of cool stuff. Special effects are going to be really cool in this one, makeup. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenge. The character depth is basically our deepest character, stuff since basically we've started. A lot of our earlier stuff has a lot of good character depth, and there's a lot of really cool stuff with the story. The problem is once again, you're limited by budget and you're limited by, writing. And so like when we kind of drowned ourselves in plot in the first couple of movies that we were making, where they're very ambitious, and like Last Cabin is very simple and it goes forward and it works really, really well. People love it. They watched it all the way through. There's no boring stuff. So it's like the challenge now is basically, how do we take a very complicated plot with very deep characters and keep that pacing? And that is the challenge of being a filmmaker and a writer. And I think that's what separates, the really, really good writers. And I always go back to The Matrix as the best example of this. They created a whole world. They explained all the rules and they did it without slowing down that pace. And to do that is almost impossible. And that's what you're being asked to do that as an indie filmmaker, because you don't have that budget to kind of, do all that stuff. You don't have like crazy flashbacks or kind of basically to get things where it needs to go. So this is like our next jump up is going to be, how do we do what the feedback was on this one, which was we want more character depth. We want to see more characters. We want more twists and turns. How do we incorporate that into the next movie? And that's what I'm like aggressively attacking. Well,
real quick, Ben, we got you some help here. The horror scene, we'll be making sure to direct the scene peeps. There we go.
Make sure you tag hashtag Russia.
Yes.
Wait, don't hashtag Russia. Maybe just happen to throw like a Russian flag in there or something, just so they know to stop stealing the movie.
Yes. Gotcha. I gotcha. No,
how much better my career would be with another 3.5 million people legally watching something I'm in. So much better.
It would be. It really would be. It's still nice to throw in that 3 million number, though. That's really cool. Absolutely. But Brendan, I heard you earlier before talking about that that you can't compare yourself to this, you can't compare yourself to that. You're always kind of downplaying whatever it is. But I got to tell you, brother, I've been watching your films lately, and you are getting better, just like they said here in the chat, every single film. And that's what it's about. The first book I ever read was that The Rebel Without a Crew, Robert Rodriguez. And in there, he talks about if you can't go and watch your first film and then watch your last film and see a progression, then it's just a hobby. And you obviously have a very good progression. But what I like the most about it is the fact that you're very open to, I would like you to tell me where my faults are. Show me what it is that didn't work or did work or whatever, so I could use that to grow and make better product for you and everybody else. And that's very commendable. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's really important that as a filmmaker, you're receptive of some of the criticism like that. That is absolutely going to help you grow. And you said it earlier, like every film's another opportunity to learn to make it a better one. And you're on that trajectory right now.
Yeah, some people just pump films out and that's it. They don't care. But you want to grow as a filmmaker. I love that.
I mean, we put our fans first, right? And obviously, I'm making films because I enjoy making films, right? But I do think there's compromise in there, and you're putting something out for people to consume. They want to watch this stuff, and it's really cool. Like I said, when we were on MegaCon, it was sold out, and people were cheering when Ben got. I can't spoil it, or people get chainsawed, or there's cool, funny lines. Like seeing all that stuff is really cool, and I think that's my biggest advice to filmmakers is like there are two paths in this journey that you can go down right now. You can go down the path where you save up all your money and you take your one shot for your movie and you basically try and do it with no experience whatsoever, and just all the stars have to align. You can make that movie because for some weird reason, filmmakers think that just because you have something in your head, it'll be very easy to make that a movie, right? And I had that too. I started in the book business, right? I have a publishing company. My whole goal was to go from books to movies, right? I said, if I can write a really good book, I can make that a movie. Super easy to do. This is the most difficult art form in business I've ever been a part of in my entire life. The complexities are absolutely insane. And people don't realize that. Everybody thinks they can make a movie, but when you actually go through and see how difficult it is, it'll break you. And this is why I think 90% of movies, especially like indie movies, never get uploaded anywhere. They're just lost because you go through this whole process, it'll break you and you're just done. So number one, I have massive respect to anybody who's uploaded anything. And that's why I love indie films, because I'm watching them like, oh, they're going down that plot hole. I know, I've been down that plot hole. Don't do that. Or, or they pull something out that's really cool. And I'm like, yes, you did it. I'm like actively cheering them on because I know how hard this actually is to do this. But back to my analogy is basically you can save up all your money, think you're the best, and go and try and make your movie. Or you can make a whole bunch of little ones with any resources that you have, Robert Rodriguez style, just get your friends together and just film something. Because number one, it's going to give you a much bigger respect for people who actually make movies. Just even on your iPhone, if you try and cut something together, it is difficult, but you will get better. I don't understand why there's this whole thing where filmmaking is not a skill. It is a skill.
Oh my God.
With every single movie we make. It's not just the acting gets better. I get better as a director. Our sets, which you don't even see, nobody ever sees how well a set is run, is a huge thing. If everything's efficient, you have more time, the actors feel safer, everything is better, right? And it took us 17 movies to get a good set. We just literally, the last two have been the time where I'm like, okay, we finally figured out how to make a good movie and have a good set and everything runs efficiently. It took us 17 movies to do that, right? So good luck if these are your first couple ones, right? It's gonna.
Well, and I think part of the issue with a lot of that too is like as an audience member, like the market is so saturated with streaming services, TV shows, movies. It's easy for them to sit back and just watch a dozen different things, pick them apart, say they can do better, but they literally have no idea how complex and what type of work goes into putting something together. And I think a lot of that gets lost in translation when I'm going from like what you do to somebody watching it.
Yeah, let me jump in there with that real quick. I completely understand because I'm an indie filmmaker myself as well. I made The Clock. The Clock, I know it has its faults or whatever it is. Thank you. I know it has its faults.
I love that movie.
I appreciate that, bro. I really do. But like you were saying, Brendan, about being a skill and stuff like that, it's 100 times more so when you're talking as an indie filmmaker, because as a director, you're not just going in there and directing and working with the cast and crew. As an independent filmmaker, you're doing everything from helping with the lighting, from shuttling people around to locking down locations and contracting and setting up the scene. I mean, as an independent filmmaker, you pretty much have your hands in every single bucket. So to make a movie work, to get a movie that you wrote to a table read, to screened, to uploaded, you should pat your back no matter the quality or anything. Just that
Absolutely.
I have a friend of mine. His name's Chris, and I will not say his last name. I promised myself. I met him 25 years ago. When I met him, he was in pre-production for his first feature film. 25 years later, he still has not shot that movie or any movie. So trust me, there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about what it takes to get a movie in your head to a finished film, to upload it where other people can download it and watch it. So my hat's off to you. I know what that process is like. And like I said, as an indie filmmaker, it's 100 times more than a studio that can just throw money at it and has somebody in every single position or whatever. 9 times out of 10, you're 5 to 10 crew members handling everything. So I know what you're talking about.
That's why I said earlier, I become kind of a hermit and very particular with projects I take, because, I did an entire list of everything I've ever done, like over 100 projects. I think I have like 50 credits that have actually come out, which means everything else has gone to the void, disappeared, with people that were more of dreamers and hopeful that they can make a movie, rather than people that actually had a true business perspective of, hey, this is an art form, but it's a business. I can't just make a movie. I have to run a business. I have to have a culture. I have to have a plan. That's one of the things I love working with Brendan, is the culture of DBS. When you go to any new set, or when you have new people on your set, Rick, you will 100% get this. You don't know what you're getting when everyone is there on set together. Who's going to mesh with who's going to dislike who's going to get into a fight, who won't work together. And there's so many times that as an actor, you show up to a set and you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? This was such a mistake. Why am I here? What am I doing? This is never going to see the light of day. But when you walk onto a DBS set, you kind of get this adrenaline rush of, oh, I'm going to make some new friends. There's people he's cast I've never worked for, because he's got his rule where every movie has to be like half new cast, half people he's worked with. So half the people, when you get there, I know them. It's like going to camp. You get excited to see your old friends again. And then the other half, new friends, because he picked them. They went through the same process everyone else went with, which is not just, hey, there's a lot of talented people out there, but who's going to mesh, who's going to work the hardest, who's going to fit in this culture to not just give a great performance, make everyone else better. So with The Last Cabin, first time I met Brendan or Isabella was the moment I got to set and interrupted a take. The very first time I got there, I ruin every take when I show up. It's what I do. I just walk right on set and say hi to everyone and ruin it and make them start over. But the first time I met them was when I got there. We didn't rehearse together, but there was never a doubt in my head at any moment of, they're going to be cool to work with. They're going to understand what we're doing. And even Isabella, who was cast like a week before because someone dropped out, so she took that chance, she got the ball, and she ran with it. No doubt at any point that what I do, what we do, what he does, what DBS does is going to work, because he just knows how to find these people that just fit in, that just mesh, just know how to work together. And that's one of the reasons I keep going back. Even when I'm on my little hiatuses, if Brendan calls, I go. Even if he's going to cut me out of a goddamn movie like Shadows of Bigfoot.
All right. Well, we got some, personal stuff that's going to happen after the show here.
Oh, no, I bring it up all the time. Wasted 4 hours of his own time to drive me out to a location shoot scene just to cut it out.
All right, we're getting ready to close this show out here real quick. So in the last minute or so, why don't you let everybody else know, except for the Russians, where you can find you guys, what you got coming up next or whatever, but mainly the main place they can find you to chat with you, throw you some constructive criticism like Howard does and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much everywhere. TikTok, we're DBS Films. Instagram, we're DBS Films. Facebook, we're DBS Films. If you do listen to this, I would just love it if you could support indie horror films and just indie horror in general, and basically just rent it on Amazon. That's really what we need right now. We're trying to get that one last final push to basically continue our work in the algorithm. So, if you like what I said, or if you want to, you're free to email me. I will give you as much advice as possible. Because I do love making indie films. I love making horror films, but I also like watching horror films. So anyone who is out there who is trying to do this, if you have any questions or comments, I always reply back. So, on Reddit, I'm trying to help people. On Facebook, people message me. If you email me stuff, I'll basically email you and get you to where you need to go. Because I started somewhere, as well. And, I've been doing this probably, I think, 5 or 6 years now. And we've done 18 movies. We have a pretty good idea of how to kind of operate. So if you want anything from pre-production to production to distribution, which ones to avoid, which ones not to work with, or basically how to navigate that landscape, because that is a beast in itself. I'm here for you. If you leave us a review on Reddit, on Letterboxd, on Facebook, on Rotten Tomatoes, on IMDb, especially Letterboxd, I will reply to you. Please, if you're going to do it, do not just say the movie sucks. I hate it. If you give me something to respond to, it's much more fun and it's much more enlightening. Again, I said the problem I'm having with this movie is I don't know what's wrong with it. People are not giving me proper feedback this time. I have my own feedback, which is the most critical feedback you can possibly get. But for the most part, the majority outside of Killer's backstory and kills are off screen, and obviously just some smaller stuff, I don't know how to improve. So we're going to try and really dig deep and hopefully get more stuff as the movie kind of populates through the ecosystems. But basically, if you can support indie film, just rent it for us and follow us on socials. We will be having 3 more movies out this year, and hopefully we will be having many more after that. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I think at this point I am completely addicted, and this is what I do as my life. So I'm trapped. And congratulations, indie film. You got it.
We love it, brother. All right. So we're going to get close the shut out. We're going to put you guys backstage real quick, but don't go away yet. Let us just say goodbye. Then we'll come back and we'll close it out, okay? Thank you for joining us, guys. Great job.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Now, just one last little parting gesture there. Make sure anybody in Russia, it's Found TV, okay? Found TV. Go there, watch it there. Give these guys the credit that they're due. Everybody else, Amazon, all that good stuff. So, great job. I mean, next thing you know, I look down and it's almost 9 o'clock. Unbelievable. We could go on here for another hour for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Lance, for joining us and filling in for Amy.
I appreciate you guys letting me have the chance to come on here with you.
There will be other opportunities too, because I'm sure Amy likes to get her moments where she's not having to deal with me for a night. So it'll be on you, brother. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Also, to let you know that after the show tonight, we're going to upload the audio version only to our Buzzsprout site, which will go out over all the podcast sites. So hopefully we'll get a whole new audience for people that don't want to look at us, because I do have a face for radio. So, all I want to say is we'll see you next Wednesday.